Hmm. Hello, how are you today? I'm so glad to be here with you. Let's move this microphone in a little bit closer so you can hear me, hopefully, very well. And let's talk about finding an answer. How do you find the answer for the things you're looking for? How do you know that it's the right answer? And this is the tough one. How do you accept the answer when you get it? Hi, my name is Steve Kidd. I am a third generation minister, an international best-selling author of a whole bunch of books. But more importantly, I work with people to help them write, publish, and most importantly, market their book to bestseller and beyond. There is so much more that I can do to help you up level who you are and what you do in the world. It's a book is a great credential, but it's then what do you do with it? And how can you take what you already do and turn it on its head and be even more? You see, the very things that feel like clouds in our life don't just have silver lining. What we almost always find out is that it's actually cotton candy covering the silver that is our life. And I want to help you be able to find that in any way they can. I want to add value to you every minute of every day to help you maximize while it's called today, just as I even try to do so too. So out of the midst of all the chaos of my life, some of you have been following, others of you that don't know, I'm in the process of trying to move, waiting for a couple of things to come through so that I can, and offering others options and opportunities to engage with me both while I'm moving as well as even being part of that move. And in the meantime, I'm here in my house with my dog, living amongst the boxes, literally. Some of you that are stalkers of mine will notice that most of the things that are usually behind me aren't there right now. I don't have the books up that I usually do. Everything's just boxed up and ready to go. There's a few things like my soundboard and, of course, my computer that are still set up because I need them to be able to continue showing up powerfully for you every day. But beyond that, you should see my kitchen. I should do a Facebook Live from my phone and show you just how crazy it is, there in my kitchen, and then just how really insanely packed up everything is right now. It's a lot of fun and very scary too. So let's talk about how do we find an answer? And more importantly, how do we know what the answer is and how do we accept what the answer is? Do you have something you're looking for an answer for? I'd love it if you're listening live or on the replay, whether it's right now or it's 20 years from now. I'd love to hear from you. What is the answer you're looking for? That's number one. And then secondly, what's the answer that you've gotten that you're looking now for another answer for because you don't really want that one, right? How often does God, come out and tell us, this is what I want you to do? And then we're like, no, I don't want to do that one. Give me another one, would you please? And sometimes, he's generous and gracious and allows us to do less than the perfect. Sometimes we just are downright rebellious little snots, and we just do what we're going to do regardless of what we've been told to do. And other times he's just like, no, this is the direction you're going to go. And if you don't do it, you're going to feel stuck until you do. But how do you know what the answer is, first of all? And this really has to do with all of us have a level of intuition. Far too many people use the word being intuitive and having intuition and empathy more than what they really understand what they're asking for. But all of us do have that gut feeling. And here's the cool thing. A friend of mine has a really cool book. Her name's Lonnie Ray. Her book's called How to Deal with the Dumbass. But it's really about learning to listen to your gut, to listen to that little voice inside of you that says, hey, don't do that. All too often, and this happens to us a lot, especially in business, we will you get an opportunity, and it's a really powerful opportunity, or it's a really horrible opportunity, or worse yet, we really need money, so we take the opportunity anyway, right? And we feel inside of ourselves. Sometimes we feel really excited. Oh, I can't wait to work with this person. But there's other times when we know right from the start, oh my gosh, this person's going to be more than a handful. They're not going to be worth it. And sometimes we listen to our gut. And a lot of times, because we need the money, we don't. And we're like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have listened, but they weren't worth it. I didn't, there's just no amount of money. And maybe they even paid you really well, but did that really make it worth it? So it's learning to be able to really, first of all, take a moment. There's no choice in this world that you have to make instantly. I was watching Shark Tank the other night, and one of them said, blah 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 offer, but you have to you have to say yes right now. And I wanted so badly to like run onto camera. I mean, I'm nowhere near. I don't even know where they film it, so maybe I am near it. But I wanted to run onto camera and say no. No, if this person cannot take a couple of minutes and think, if this person can't hear other help and advice from people and even other offers, to be pressured into and not given a chance to think whatsoever, that automatically should tell you, yeah, that's probably a no. If a person can't give you a moment or whatever to decide, you really need to ask yourself, what's behind that? I mean, I know there's times when, because I've been doing sales my whole life, and I've been in, okay, let's make the decision now kind of moments. But, and so I know there's been times when I've been guilty of it, but I've always tried, even when you're doing door to door sales, the most extreme, intense type of selling. And, basically, if you don't close the sale while you're there, the likelihood that you're ever going to is somewhere below zero. Let's just put it that way. Okay. And, but when a person says, can we talk about it? Any of those kind of things, to step outside for a minute and let them discuss it, to let them step off into the kitchen. If you're not confident enough in what you're doing and what you're selling and what you're saying and who you are in the world, that a person can't step away for a second, a person can't take a beat and think about it, then you really need to ask yourself, why am I feeling so unsure? All right. So that's, and I've approached most of that from us as the salesperson, but you as the person being sold to or being helped or being given advice or any of those kind of things, you want to do the same thing. Take a beat, take a minute. The difference between responding and reacting is a response is when you take a moment and you think about the thing and then you choose how you're going to respond. A reaction is just whatever pops out. If you're walking through the house and you stub your toe, you're going to react. That's painful. It's icky. Those of you that ever had children and you're walking through the house in the middle of the night and you step on a Lego or a Barbie or pretty much any child's toy, because I promise you they all are made from the concept of how bad will this hurt the parents when they step on it in the middle of the night, right? What reaction is like, and that's an instant reaction. Now the response is the fact that you don't then throw away every toy that your child has. You don't get them out of bed and beat them profusely or any of those kind of things. You may curse and swear or cry or scream or, wake the whole house or, slam your fist against it. I mean, there's all kinds of reactions that you may have, but the response is to be a grown-up, to stop, to think, and to be like, okay, how can we put into place a better process so between my bedroom and the bathroom, there are no painful toys that I need to step on in the middle of the night? How can we create a process to teach picking up after oneself? Or, and I know several parents that, they just have as a ritual, after I put the kid in bed, then I just pick up the toys because it takes me like a minute and it's so much easier than the fight. It depends on what's important to you. And we have whole other conversations that we talk about. Why is that important to you? And what does that mean to what you're passionate about in life? But by taking that time and taking a beat and then responding rather than reacting, listen to your gut, listen to that inner feeling. Here's the thing. I've never met anybody ever who has ever said, I listened to my gut. I followed my intuition. And I totally regret it. I did what I knew was right inside of me, and I just totally regret it. Now, I know people that have made choices they've regretted. I know people that have been in situations, both long and short term, that they're regretted. But almost in every one of those, I think I can say, I know that's true in my own life. That person really knows there was that moment. There was that minute when I wondered, shall I take a beat here? What should I do? When it didn't seem right. And it may not necessarily be that it wasn't right. Sometimes all that it means is it needed another minute. If you pull anything really that you're cooking out of the oven, off the stove, whatever, even a minute early, it's not going to be as good as if you let it cook all the way through. Some things can be even deadly if you don't make sure that they're warmed all the way. And that extra minute, 5 minutes, whatever, makes all the difference. It doesn't, in other words, mean that, for example, if you're cooking chicken, that if you give it the time to make sure that it's cooked through and warmed to the appropriate temperature, those of you that are chefs can post what that appropriate temperature is, that it doesn't mean that you're not going to then eat that chicken. It just means that you need to, when you check it, you need to be like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to eat the pink raw chicken. And you cook it longer, and then you still eat it. All right. Now, if you get it at your table at a restaurant, you send it back. You don't just, like choke it down or eat the edges that look like they're probably okay. Right? That's the difference. So it isn't a matter of taking a moment means that you can't do the thing. It just means that you show up powerfully in the world. That's how you begin to find the solution of that answer. But then second to that is when you hear the answer, you've got to do it. And that's where a lot of us struggle. We know what's right to do. We know what we should do. It isn't necessarily easy. It isn't fun. It isn't the answer we wanted. And so we ask, and it happens so often to us when we're praying, God says, okay, here's what I want you to do. And then we're like, no, I don't want to do that. Give me something else. Can I have a second option, please? And sometimes, like I said, sometimes he's gracious and gives us a second option. And sometimes we're rebellious and we just don't follow it. And other times it just has to be that way. I think of the story of Jonah. I love the story of Jonah, especially those of you who remember back in the 80s, Mike Warnke. I don't want to hear from those of you who are anti-Mike Warnke, all of that, blah, 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 whatever. He was funny, okay? And he tells the story of Jonah, and I love the way he tells it because he's like, God tells Jonah to go to Nineveh, and he decides to not. And so he gets on the boat going the absolute opposite direction, and the boat almost sinks, and they toss him overboard, and he gets swallowed by a great big fish. And then the fish, he lives in there for 3 days, and he gets puked up out onto the shore. And, the juices inside of the fish have begun to digest him to the point where his skin is very pale. And he looks at the first person he comes in contact with, because now he's at Nineveh, even though he didn't want to go there. And he says, repent. And guess what the person does? They repented. I mean, can you imagine a guy that's been in the belly of a whale for 3 days walking up to you and telling you, repent, what you're doing is wrong? You definitely be freaked out, at least, if not possibly change your ways. That's a extreme example of when God tells us to do something, sometimes we're just going to do it. Okay? And the question becomes, what if we just did it sooner, quicker, faster, and we were more obedient? What if we just followed it? What if, and I even postulated this in my description, what if God is telling you now's the time to do your book? I've put financing in place so that we can even help you get your book done now and pay for it over the course of the next, even like 72 months, right? But get that out into the world now. We can talk about even additional marketing programs so that it's not just a bestseller, but you're actually making sales of the book that we can include in that package, depending on what you want to do. And maybe you know you're supposed to be doing it, and maybe you've been dragging your feet, or maybe you couldn't do it because you just didn't have the funds. And so I've got that in place for you, and I'd love to help you. Maybe some of you knowing about my journey east, and that I'm moving as soon as the gate opens. Basically, I feel like the horse in the starting gate. I'm all ready to go, but the gate won't let me go forward until it goes off. I'm just kind of stuck here amongst my house full of boxes. um, and some of you maybe are feeling like you should support me in that journey, that you should be sponsors of that. Maybe you want to say, this mile, this 100 miles, this half an hour I want to spend with you. I want to pray for you. I want to encourage you. And yes, I even want to support you. Maybe you hear this voice inside of you that's saying, you know what, Steve? I want to buy a house for you. When you get to where you're going, I'm going to be the one who's going to have given you the money so you can buy a house. Because I'm moving to areas where, we're talking not huge amounts of money. I'm not saying send me $1 million. You can if you want to, but I'm not saying that. But, you may be feeling led in big numbers and you don't know why, but you could. Maybe you're even saying, hey, Steve, could I kind of do both? Could I really help and support you and have that financed and have you help me out with the marketing stuff I'm doing in the world, with the book I'm doing, with all of those things that are uniquely me? Can I kind of combine the both of them and add that financing in there? Because I'd love to help, but I don't really have a whole lot of extra. But I could do a couple $100 a month. And I know that you need the money right now. So could we bring that financing to play to do that? And absolutely, we absolutely can. And we can create an amazing program. I'll even customize something specifically for you and your needs, whether it be you just need somebody to talk to, you need a weekly therapy session with Steve, you need marketing help, you need somebody to oversee your advertising. I've been in marketing and sales space for 50 years. I know a few things. I've been in book space for, what is it now? 15 years, I want to say it's been. And I've learned a few things. I know where the ditches are. There's a lot of things that I can bring to the table for you. And absolutely, I'd love to help. And maybe that's what God's saying to you. And maybe you weren't sure how to put it together. Or maybe you heard the voice and you just didn't do it. Now, it may not be working with me. It may be something else. But I encourage you today, stop fighting the answer you already got and get busy doing the thing that you know you should do in this world, to show up powerfully, to make the difference that only you can make in the world, to be the person that you know you're meant to be. I talked to you a little bit about how to find an answer, but once you have the answer, you have to also accept it and then do something with it and then make the world a better place. And you know what? Thank you for doing that. Thank you for showing up while it's called today, maximizing today, and being the best version of yourself. Thank you for you. I hope that you're happy, safe, warm, and loved, that you're living thriving and truly free, exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ask or even think. Thanks for being with me here. I hope we talk soon. See you soon.